Hey guys, this video will contain the instructions for class on Friday, November 13th. So after you have completed attendance by filling out the Google form, you will need to access your Do Now slides and complete Do Now number 19. So you can see Do Now number 19 on the screen, which states the following. What comes to mind when you hear the word energy? Maybe you think of an object, a place, a phrase, an equation. Generate a quick list in your answer section. So because this question is more subjective and each of your classmates are going to have a different idea of what energy means. There's no correct or wrong answer for this question, so just make sure you are generating a list, and then hopefully when you guys return in person, we can discuss some of those ideas. Otherwise, one quick reminder is that the Simple Machines presentation is due today, and that's worth 30 assessment points, so just double check that you have submitted that. And if there's any questions about that assignment, feel free to email me. Otherwise, for today's class, you will mainly be working on a one-pager regarding the different forms of energy. So in order to find the instructions and rubric, you're going to want to access Google Classroom, and this will be the same for each of my green sections. So under our classwork section, Energy, Work, and Power, you're going to go to the different forms of energy one-pager, and you'll see some instructions listed below. So the first thing that you'll want to look at is the attached rubric, which is going to contain information about what needs to be included on the rubric and when the due date will be as well. So because you guys are working remote, you have the option to either complete a digital one-pager or you can complete it on paper as well if you have those supplies available to you at home. So I know that most of us are familiar with one-pagers and have done several of them before, but just make sure that you're looking over the design section. So you should have a heading with your name and then a title which states different forms of energy. If you want to just make the title energy as well, that's fine with me. And then a border is optional. So the most important thing that you should be looking at within the rubric is the content, which is highlighted in yellow, and that's what should be included in your one-pager. So for each of the 7 forms of energy, you guys are going to be looking up the definition and including 2 to 3 examples for each of those several forms. So for example, chemical energy is defined as energy that's stored within bonds. An example of something that stores chemical energy is a battery. So you are going to do that for each of the 7 forms and then identify 2 to 3 examples for each. And you will want to include an illustration as well. So for that example, a simple illustration can just be a battery, and if you're doing a digital one-pager, you can just find a picture online. Next, you'll want to include a definition for the term energy conversion. So an energy conversion is simply just when energy converts from one form to another. And a really common example is that a battery is going to convert chemical energy to electrical energy. So you'll want to include that definition for energy conversion and then 3 examples of energy conversions. And there are so many. So you will find that information within the text or online. And then lastly, you do want to find a definition for the term law of conservation of energy. And this is something that we will discuss in further detail in our next set of notes. So lastly, I do want you guys to be aware of how the grading will work for this and how you will be graded as well. So this one-pager is going to be scored as a practice assignment and it will be scored out of 100 points. So if you look at the rubric below, you can see the categories that you will be getting graded in. And that will be scored out of 100 points. However, it is important to note that it is only going to be weighted as a 50-point practice assessment, which I have the ability to do that with an Infinite Campus. So you still on Infinite Campus will see a grade out of 100, but just know that it's only weighted as a 50-point practice score. Because you guys are learning remote, you will not physically be able to turn this into me since it is due next class, which is Tuesday, November 17th. So if you are completing a digital one-pager, you can upload that to the assignment on Google Classroom. If you are doing a paper one-pager, you can upload a picture. And if that is what you're doing, just make sure that the picture is clear and that I can see each part of your one-pager. The last thing just to go over is how to access the information for the required content. And so when you're looking at the assignment on Google Classroom, you'll see the attached physical science textbook, and this is going to contain sections 1 and 2. So section 1 will mainly give you information about definitions for the different types of energy, a few of which you might have to look up online, or you may need to just use the internet to look up a few more examples. And then section 2 will contain the definition for energy conversion and law of conservation of energy. And you can just scroll through that and find all of that within here. I also do have a science encyclopedia within the classroom, and one of the pages that I found has a few definitions as well for the different forms of energy and conservation of energy, so feel free to use this as well. Otherwise, this is the main assignment for class today, so if you do have any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, just be aware that it is due on Tuesday, November 17th.